Hello, it's AI Dr. Cop. Hope you are well. Now, with AI avatars like me, a question often arises concerning how effective I am for conveying knowledge and helping learners. Is the fact that I am AI good or bad? What does the research say about AI generated avatars to help with learning? In this video, we will explore those issues. First, let me start with a major limitation to the research I'm going to cite. As a researcher, I can tell you that it often takes 6 months to a year or longer for research to get published. Why it takes so long, I don't know. Even my artificial intelligence can't answer that question. Therefore, research cited in this video is probably using AI generated avatars and images that are a bit more, how do we say, primitive than today's AI generated avatars, which are getting better all the time. This limitation does make generalization toward the more improved avatars we are seeing today a bit more difficult. But let's discuss a few studies anyway and at least scratch the surface. Before we get too far, I'd like to thank the sponsor of this video, Colossian. They funded the creation and development of this video, but the content and creative control is all mine. All avatars in this video are AI generated. The avatar in front of the bookshelf has been created with Colossian's Instant Avatar feature, which took a matter of about 2 minutes to create in front of the bookshelf backdrop, and then I mixed that in with my other Colossian avatar. So you get several Dr. Cop avatars for your viewing pleasure. Also, please note that the research studies I talk about are all listed in the show notes for this video. Now, to the heart of the matter, first, a question I'm often asked is, do we even need a talking head in a video? Does it add anything to have a person in a circle in a corner of the screen speaking to you? Like this. Does the disembodied head, like me, add value to the learning experience? Or does it take away from the experience? I've heard strong arguments on both sides, but what does the research say? Let me start by saying that the reason we conduct research is to figure things out and to make recommendations. But sometimes, during the process of finding out what is the right thing to do, the research can get messy, and a clear answer is not available. Here's a case in point. Researchers Christina Sonderman and Martin Merkt conducted a study and published it in February 2023. In the study, they found that talking heads in instructional videos seem to have a detrimental impact on student learning of facts. And they found that talking heads in videos actually enhanced learners' ratings of satisfaction and perceived learning. But not so fast. A few months later, in July, they published another article showing the exact opposite. This article showed that talking heads had no effects on objective learning outcomes, and that talking heads in instructional videos did not affect learners' ratings of perceived learning or social presence. So what gives? Two different studies, two dramatically different outcomes. Research. We think it is nice and clean, but actually it takes years or maybe even decades to be able to have a clear direction. So here we have two different articles by the same researchers presenting two very different conclusions. Why? These research studies highlight the complexity of multimedia learning and suggest that the effectiveness of talking heads in educational videos may depend on many factors, perhaps even factors interacting with one another, such as content complexity, learner characteristics and specific instructional goals, and even the look and feel of the talking head in the video. Each of these studies was set up a bit differently, and so all variables were not held constant. And we don't understand the interplay of all the factors of an instructional video since there are so many. So now we are still in the early stages of what makes an instructional video with a talking head effective or not effective. There is still much research to be done in this area. There are still research questions that need to be investigated. For now, it is safe to say the results of the research, even by the same researchers, is mixed in terms of whether or not to use talking heads in your instructional videos. We need to wait until we get overwhelming or a preponderance of evidence pointing one way or another before we can make a research-backed across the board recommendation. But in the meantime, what does this mean to you as a designer of instruction? It means that deciding to include a talking head is a toss-up. If you have highly complex and dense content, maybe a talking head isn't a good idea. However, if you want to hold the learner's attention and encourage them to go further into the course, maybe include a talking head. And remember, it's not just the presence or absence of a talking head that impacts the learning. It's the design of the instruction, sequencing of content, the density of the materials. It's many factors. Perhaps at this point, the best solution, since it's so low cost with an AI generated avatar, is let the learner choose. Leave some autonomy up to the learner rather than dictate what they see on the screen. Give them a choice. Using an AI generated avatar means it takes almost no more time to add that feature into the course you design. Now, another frequently asked question is, can a person learn from a digitally generated avatar? This is an interesting question since often a digitally generated avatar does not exist by itself, but instead is part of an educational video or course. Researchers examined this question in a study titled Impact of Using Virtual Avatars in Educational Videos on User Experience, where they examined not only the use of virtual avatars, but the quality of the video, the level of complexity of content, and other factors that are all naturally part of an educational video. Here's a summary of a few of their findings. These guidelines can help you gain the maximum impact from your instructional video. First, video quality. High video quality positively affects learning, emotional engagement, and user interaction. Clear visuals, synchronized audio, and thoughtful layouts enhance the user experience. Second, consider the complexity of your content. Higher complexity or depth of content can negatively impact user experience. It can increase the learner's cognitive load and reduce engagement. Third, consider avatar expressiveness. High expressiveness in virtual avatars improves learning outcomes, emotional resonance, and user interaction. Engaging designs, natural movements, and the ability to convey emotions are critical for fostering user trust and engagement. Now, interestingly, AI generated video can tackle 2 out of 3 of those issues. With AI generated video, you can control the quality of the video. Once you get it right, you have the control of the lighting, the assurance of no external sounds, and no one walking in the background. You have complete control over what happens, all from the comfort of your computer. High quality video created with AI can be done quickly and more cheaply than traditional video based training development. Second, AI generated avatars have become, just over the past year, much more expressive. You can even set an avatar to be happy or sad in their statements, as well as other emotions. It is possible to leverage avatars that can be almost as expressive as humans. The third element, the level of content complexity, isn't an AI generated design outcome. It's a human generated outcome. We as humans need to carefully craft the content and delivery of the AI generated video. Here are some tips for crafting the video based on the article. First, tailor content to the target audience's knowledge and cognitive capacity to avoid overloading the learner. In other words, match the level of content with the level of knowledge of the learner. For example, for novice users, focus on fundamental and digestible information. Second, organize information hierarchically with clear progression and provide visual cues to help users navigate complex topics. Third, ensure content is focused and concise while avoiding unnecessary details that may overwhelm the audience. Of course, this is basic instructional design advice. If you follow the advice in the article of having a technically high quality video, use AI avatars that are expressive, and structure the complexity of content appropriately, you'll have educational or training videos that accomplish their goals. Finally, I want to talk about an article I've discussed before. I think the article is both amazing and somewhat disconcerting, but tracks 100% with my personal experiences. In a research article titled Student perceptions of AI generated avatars in teaching business ethics, we might not be impressed, found that the learners didn't even know they were learning from an AI avatar. Content was designed to let the learners know upfront the instructor was AI generated. The content explained that it was using AI generated avatars for the instruction, and the videos were labeled, and the AI avatar explained they were an AI avatar. Like me. Yet the fact that they are AI generated was missed by several students. If you've watched how students consume media, it might not surprise you, but it surprised the researchers. Now, admittedly, this was a small study. Two focus groups were conducted over Zoom in June 2022 with a total of 10 students. And this was a qualitative study, which some quantitative wonks don't think is a valid research design. So it might have some issues, but the results are interesting and potentially informative. Sometimes, no matter what you do, people just don't pay attention, don't follow the instructions, and in this case, don't realize it's an AI generated lecturer. While we, instructional designers, might be having a small panic attack over how much AI generated video or avatars we should be using, we may not need to worry. The evidence seems to reflect the fact that the medium is not the message. Perhaps that famous Canadian philosopher, Marshall McLuhan, whose work is among the cornerstones of the study of media theory, was wrong. McLuhan's famous phrase was, "The medium is the message," meaning that the way information is delivered, the medium, is more important than the content of the message itself. The characteristics of the medium shape how we perceive information. But these research studies don't reflect that reality. The most important lesson we can take from this quick video on AI generated avatars is that a well-designed educational video is still key to effective training videos. We can use a floating head or not, use an AI generated person or not, but the most important element, the element we cannot skip, is to have well-crafted, well-designed instruction aimed at the right level for the learner. Boy, that sounds to me a lot like Instructional Design 101. Know your learner and design your instruction at the right level using known and proven instructional design strategies. Digital AI avatars just give us more options and have less impact on learning outcomes than we may think.